Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to our Genesis class live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg. Rabbi had to step out of the Zoom meeting for a couple of minutes, so he'll be with us shortly. So bear with us, and we'll be live shortly. We're just having some chat in the Zoom meeting, so hang with us. We'll be back in a couple minutes. We're just waiting on the Rabbi who got called away for a quick second. So. Hey, everybody. Rabbi's back, so we're just going to jump right in and see how the Rabbi's doing today. Shalom, Rabbi. You're live on the air, so we're going to turn the class over to you. So good to be with you. We know you had family there, grandkids. Always a joy to be with your the grandkids, no doubt. So we're going to turn the class over to you, and you can take it wherever you wish.
I'll give at least something short for a beginning. For something maybe I will manage to come again soon, but let's start with something. Yesterday, we already in Deuteronomy. I don't know if you noticed, but we have a short ideas on the Parsha that we're spreading in something like 16 languages. But yesterday we read the 10 Commandments again. Now, we all know the 10 Commandments. I don't think that it's new to anyone. But in the 10 Commandments, one of the things that we have, I want to speak for a moment about Shabbat. Okay, we all know the Shabbat. So let's read for a moment a few sentences from the Shabbat of the 10 Commandments of this week. Okay? So please, if it's okay, please read verses 13, 14, and 15.
Okay, 13, 6 days may you work and perform all your labor. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall perform no labor, neither you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, your ox, your donkey, any of your livestock, nor the stranger who is within your cities, in order that your manservant and your maidservant may rest like you. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord your God took you out from there with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God commanded you to observe the Sabbath day.
So we have two reasons here. You with me? We have two reasons. Please explain to me the two reasons. What happened? It's not connected with me. If you can explain to me the reason of verse number 14 and the reason of verse number 15. There are two different reasons. Please, you can speak. Everybody, you don't need to be shy. Everybody. Okay, and remember what? Did he took everybody out from Egypt?
He only took the Israelites as they were out. Those who wished to go came out of Egypt on the.
So only the Israelites.
Yes.
Right? You're more than right, Mike. Only the Israelites. So number 14 is regarding the personal people. In a personal level, it might be speaking to everybody. Okay? Everybody is supposed to rest. But number 15 is speaking only to the Israelites. Right? Let's jump for a moment to the Ten Commandments in Exodus. Okay? Let's see what's happening. What is the reason in Exodus to keep the Shabbat? I'm sure that you all remember, but let's see it. Okay? Speaking about chapter 20, here it is. Please read for a moment. Verses 9, 10, and 11.
9. 6 days may you work and perform all your labor, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall perform no labor, neither you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, your beast, nor your stranger who is in your cities. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it.
What is the reason to keep the Shabbat here in the Ten Commandments of Exodus?
The 6 days that Hashem labored and then rested.
What did he did in those 6 days?
Create the world.
He created who? Who he created? What he created?
The world.
Created the world and
The world.
mankind and
The world. The world is not only the Israelite, right?
made it holy.
Fair enough, but it's not only the Israelite, right? It's already regarding to everybody, also to the German people, to the Belgian people, to the England people, even the Canadian. He created the world, even, all the animals, everything. It's related to everybody. So we have here in under Shabbat, we have 3 levels of reasons, right? We have level number 1 is related to the personal level. Everybody want to, just a moment, sorry. So we have the personal level. Each one want to rest. Think about this. In the days that we didn't have all the gathering of everybody who is working together, what we have today, and people worked not like the laws that we have today. They worked for 7 days a week. Go to China, until today, people are working every day in the year, except for 1 day, for the celebration day of the Independence Day. Except for that, they're working all the days of the year. Amazing, crazy. This was the norm of the world until 150 years ago with the revolution in Russia. Okay, for all of the workers that decided to do a union together and to say, no, we want a bit of a rest. So the first reason that we have is a personal reason for everybody. I want to rest. 1 day a week, I want to rest. Second reason that we have in verse number 15 is related to the Israelite only. It's a national reason. We were slaves. We didn't have any rest. So we are 1 day a week, we are all resting and nobody can force us to work. We want to remember that we went out from Egypt, that we are not slave anymore. And the third reason that we have to skip the Shabbat is everybody. For the whole world. God created the world for 6 days and he rested in the seventh day. He holiest the seventh day and he wanted to sacrifice all the world in the seventh day. Therefore, it's related for everybody. So we have 3 levels, the personal level, the national level, and the universe level. Until now, it's clear, right? I want to jump for a moment to one of the most important verses that we have in the Hebrew, I would say tradition. It's also from the parsha of yesterday, of what we call Vayetchanan. And I want to show this, but before that, I need to explain something. I don't know if you ever thought about this, but there are some singers that are very, known in the world and manage to touch almost all of the people of the world. For example, Simon and Garfunkel. I think that everybody here knows Simon and Garfunkel. Everybody knows Elton John. Everybody knows, the ABBA. ABBA, how do you call this? Do you call them? It's the group of the, yes, exactly. So they touched everybody. But one of the most amazing things that we have in music, that it's touching each one of us in a different explanation. It's a very personal level. I'm feeling this, you're feeling that. It's not that always we're feeling the same. I will give you a secret. I don't know if you ever thought about this. It depends what did you felt in the first time that you heard a song. What did you felt in the first time? Every time that you will hear the song, it will tune you to the same feeling of the first time that you heard the song. Okay? Check this up, you will see that it's right. Usually it's almost 95% it's working like that. If, for example, someone, God forbidden, was injured and was in the hospital for 2 months and he didn't went out and he saw only the white environment of the hospital, and after 2 months he went out and he heard a new song first time when he smelled the cows out there when he went, in the car. So always when he will listen to the song, he will smell the cows, even though he won't see them. This is how it's working. This is how we are functioning. The song is something that we are listening, and it's a very personal level. The listening that we have is something that is going inside us, and each one of us as an individual have a different, I will say, subjective feeling, and it's not the same. We can all sit down as, hundreds of people together to listen to a song, and we will feel differently one from each other. It's at a personal level. Okay? So now let's jump for a moment to one of the most important verses that we have. It's in chapter 6 of Deuteronomy. Okay? And we all know this verse. Please read this.
Verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one.
So first of all, the first word is to listen. In Hebrew, it's not hearing, it's listening. Okay? People are hearing without listening. Who said that? Someone in Garfunkel. Remember that? People are listening without, people are hearing without listening. No. In the Hebrew language, it says something else. It says, Shema Yisrael, listen. When you're listening, you're managing to touch the inside, the inner space inside you. Okay? Listening. Listen, Israel. So each one of us, as an individual level, is listening. And then we have, the Lord is our God. Okay? Is only the Israel God. Okay, this is the second part of the verse. And then it says, Lord is one. Let's see for a moment what Rashi have to say for that. And we will see that it's jumping to the third level. Okay, please read. The Lord is our God. Lord is one, please.
The Lord is our God. The Lord is one. The Lord who is now our God and not the God of the other nations, he will be declared in the future the one God, as it is said, for then I will convert the peoples to a pure language that all of them call in the name of the Lord, from Zephaniah 3:9. And it is also said, on that day will the Lord be one and his name one, from Zechariah 14:9.
Okay, so we have here, in this very famous verse, we have three levels. The first part is in the individual level. Shema Yisrael, listen. Listen, not hear, listen. Okay, so in each one of us is in a different level of listening. Then we have Israel, okay? Only Israel, God is only the God of Israel. And then it says, in the third part of the verse, this God is going to be God of all of the universe. So we're speaking about the universal side. We have three levels in this famous verse. This is a verse that we are teaching each Jewish kid from the day that he is learning how to speak, from the age of 2. We're teaching him that the Hebrew people have responsibility on the individual, on the national, the Hebrew people, and on the universal, whole world. This is what everybody knows by heart. I will give you a story, and this is where I need to stop for a moment again. Okay, I will give you a story. After the Holocaust, you know that a lot of kids all over the Holocaust, the parents gave them that they will be guided in all sorts of churches. So the chief rabbi of Israel, after the Holocaust, 6-7 years after the Holocaust, he went to a lot of churches and he said, give back the Jewish people, the Jewish kids. But the churches didn't want to give back the kids. So he said, okay, we don't have any kids of the Jewish people, nothing there. So he said, you know what, fair enough. So please gather them together. I want to give them some sort of a lecture, one lecture, and I'm going out from this church. And they all said, okay. And he came in front of a lot of kids and he said to them, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. And third of the kids usually answered, Hashem Echad. And he said, you see, those are the Hebrew people. I want them back with me. And he took them out from the churches back to Israel. Because this is something that we're teaching the kids from the moment that they know how to speak. There's another verse, by the way, that is also in the Parsha. We're teaching 2 verses, okay? This is one verse, we're teaching another verse. The other verse that we're teaching, I will show this also, okay? Let's see for a moment that it's here. Maybe it's in chapter 5, just a moment. There's another verse that we're saying, and it's also from this Parsha. No. It's in chapter 4. I remember that right. Just a moment. Here it is. Please read verse number 44.
44. And this is the teaching which Moses set before the children of Israel.
וזאת התורה שעשה משה לפני בני ישראל. Okay? Those are the 2 verses that we're teaching every kid when he is starting to speak. He's saying father, mother, whatever it is, we're starting to teach them before they're going to sleep, Shema Yisrael. We're teaching them this verse also. Those are the 2 verses that are the foundation. The first one is the Torah that Moses gave us, and the second one is we are on the side of the individual, on the national, and we also getting responsibility on the universal and all of the world, not only on ourselves. We have responsibility for everybody. I must do another break. I'm not closing the room. You can speak one with each other. You can discuss things. I'm sorry, but it will take me time to go back, to come back. I'm sorry. Okay, so just at least we started something important.
Wow, very, very interesting. I found myself looking up those verses that the rabbi shared, and Zechariah 14:9, very, very important verse, of course. And the Lord shall become king over all the earth on that day. On that day shall the Lord be one, and his name one. And Rashi's explanation, shall the Lord be one, for all nations shall abandon their vanities and acknowledge him, so that he is one, and that no strange deity is with him. And that's such a key prophetic word by Zechariah. And when he says, and his name one, that his name shall be mentioned by everyone. And I think that seems to be at the heart of everybody that's here in the class for sure. Very, very interesting that it does apply to the nations, and in the end result will be that all nations will, when the Lord is proclaimed king on the earth, on that day shall the Lord be one and his name one. So there's the definition of the Shema, of reaching or achieving that end result. And I hope to see that in our lifetime for sure. Anybody else have any comments? I've got it set up here, and everybody's showing up on the screen. So if anybody's got anything to add, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, just to clarify, what verse of Zechariah did you read from? So I can take notes.
That's Zechariah 14, verse 9. Yeah, and it also referenced Zephaniah 3, verse 9, where the two verses that Rashi had cited based on the explanation of the Shema. Very, very important. So when they say the Shema, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, they're talking about the end result, the target, right? And that's very, very, very important. And I think as B'nai Noach, we all look forward to that day where everybody's speaking with a pure speech, where Hashem's the truth of Hashem as creator of existence and the sustainer of existence. And I've been reading Proverbs of late, and so there's a lot of wisdom in understanding how everything that exists is flowing or pointing towards this ultimate end that they say in the Shema, and understanding that it culminates with what Zephaniah is talking about. So
if I can just go on to something there, Dan. In Brit Olam, the prayers, there is the recital of the Shema. And Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad is the first line. Then there is a second line, whispered. Baruch Shem Kavod Melchahuto Le'olam Va'ed. The reason the second line is whispered is it's actually not part of this prayer from the Torah. It is added on extra, and therefore it's not given the same verbal precedence as the actual line of Shema itself.
Yeah, I think that was rabbinical rather than Torah prescribed. And I think rabbis explaining that this is what they're taught. As soon as a child is able to speak, they begin to teach him the fundamentals of it. And I think the second line that you speak of has great merit, but I think it was added by the members of the Great Assembly for its purpose. But it's not as Moses in the last verse that Rabbi shared, as Moses taught them. But there's merits, and I think a lot of what the the rabbinical prescriptions were, the fences around the Torah so that people wouldn't make a mistake. But we, as B'nai Noach in the world, we may not be privy to all those insights. I mean, you're a studied person, right, Mike? So the point being that somebody else who's maybe new out there listening, they need to grasp the point that that's the target, and that's what Israel and Orthodoxy is working towards and pointing towards, and trying to be a living example for. And it's always a joy when we can get together as a class and benefit from that, though we all have to go through our daily lives, and sometimes those come with its own struggles, difficulties, and highs and lows. Yeah. Ariel, how are you guys doing down there?
Hey Dan, we're great. I was actually thinking about you the other day and thinking, are you gonna have another conference in Canada?
It's I've discussed it with Rabbi, but I'm still paying for the last one, and I get some minor support, but my wife is also at the stage where she's talking retirement, so I got to weigh out, could I spend the money? Yeah, I got a strong line of credit, but I mean, if it's not viable, so these are I have the drive to do it, and we talked about hosting one in Vancouver as a possibility. I even bounced off Rabbi Tovia Singer as a possibility for a guest. He hasn't got back to me in a couple months.
Yeah, I know another rabbi that would be interested in joining too.
Yeah, so most people don't realize. I mean, just even to fly them here is a couple thousand Canadian dollars, and you got to house them and feed them. I mean, I think I spent nearly $1,000 last year on kosher food, and I mean, you got to make sure they're looked after, and you want them to feel like elevated guests when they arrive, and it was just a joy. And when they were coming, of course, I had, a minor issue with my car, so I had to rent a vehicle for, almost another $1,000. And it just, one thing after another. And my friend Angelica there's, she's always encouraging to make something more happen, and especially here in British Columbia. But, we want to do it, but it's a question of viability. And I get somewhat frustrated because, I could go drop another 10, 20 grand, and then what? I got to keep working. It's like, it's a question of support, and I've been pondering, the whole idea of the last one was to try to get ideas that actually develop communities. And, what it really takes, and what a lot of people don't realize, is that it takes probably at least 10 committed families, committed households, right, in an area where they're actually inputting into a pool. I mean, in our country, Ariel, I mean, to get charitable status, you need to have a board of 3 at least, and getting 3 people, but one person has to be a assigned treasurer, one person has to be, assigned president, and you have to have a third member, and then you've got to submit all the applications. Doing all that, I've gone through all the paperwork. I haven't submitted it yet, but the point being, nobody wants to what do they call it? Bootstrapping, and so, I don't want to be bootstrapping everything and then on the hook for it. And, with my wife talking retirement, it affects in my future, and I don't want, I don't want to be strapped with a $30,000 or $40,000 bill when my wife is retiring. And so I'm trying to be responsible about it. So making it work, like our last one, I mean, it was everybody that attended had a great time. It was such an honor to meet the Skobaks in person and to have Rabbi Goldberg here. I don't regret in any way, shape, or form doing it, but it was only at the last minute that I decided to pay for the banquet, right? And of course, they couldn't handle kosher cooking, but thankfully they were kind enough to heat up the prepared meals. It was a joy to get the local rabbi near Angelica there. Their organization will prepare meals for travelers. So, like I said, I ordered nearly $1,000 worth of prepared meals for the rabbis, and they were delicious food. And they prepared and put them all together. And of course, I got to meet them, and it was just such an honor. Like I had a huge SUV full of food for the rabbis when they came, and I remember getting to I rented them a really nice Airbnb in the vineyard overlooking the lake, and you want them to be beautiful. Comfortable. But I looked at costs across the board, and it was cheaper to get them a nice Airbnb on a private vineyard than rent individual hotel rooms for multiple days. And realistically, it was a joy, and we would love to do it again to keep momentum, especially up here in Canada. But I'm at the stage where I'm working my buns off, like you might be seeing, and I look Caucasian, but I'm really sunburned. It's just part of my job. Hashem's good. He provides. Trust me, Hashem provides. But when you're forwarding things, I find you've got to have that emunah to take that step to do it. And I have if I have any shortfall, it's probably overzealousness. And being overzealous, you can overstep your boundaries, and then you bear the brunt of overstepping. And it's easy enough. Like, most people don't realize, like I said, the buffet that we put on, it was darn near $3,000 for both days, and I prepared had it prepared for 40 people, and how many people were there, and they ate for 40. So nobody went hungry, that's for sure. So good. I don't know, trying to do it efficiently. There's trial and error. And so, speaking with Rabbi Goldberg, we talked about maybe doing one in Vancouver because bigger population density, we may get, a bigger crowd. And there's no, here where Angelica and I live area, there's only one synagogue within reach. And
and you guys don't have an international airport right around there, right? Like, people have to go to either Vancouver or they have to do a connection.
Well, in Kelowna, Kelowna's technically an international airport, but where I am, it's only a local. And and like there was problems with the planes because of but when they came, I know the Skobaks got delayed leaving Toronto, and Rabbi Goldberg actually got held in Toronto overnight. They gave him the option. He could sleep on a bench in Vancouver and take a flight directly here the next day, or they put him up in a hotel in Toronto and sent him to Kelowna the next day. But then your husband was good enough to go pick him up, because I couldn't be in 3 places at once. I only had a small window to set it up, and I had maybe 15 minutes with their audio visual specialist. And sadly, I got there an hour early to put up my computer, and I tried to broadcast it, and I wasn't able to get the connection I wanted. Like, I got to test things and make sure that everything's functioning properly. And we ended up losing that one session with Rabbi Poston, who was intending to come, and then he just picked up a gig in Florida instead. And because he was coming for family matters to the U.S. and he wanted to come, but he's got a group down in Washington State, just below us here, that are within driving distance. And once he told them he wasn't physically coming, none of them came to the conference. And so it's a question of, I posted as much as I could links, to get people to come, and then even posted it for free. And I only got a few more people that, agreed to come when it was free, and then didn't even show up. And so, making this all work, well, I had to commit to the funds. I mean, and to rent at the convention center here, I did, it was almost $8,000 for the couple days, and then the food and then paying for the flights and paying for the food and for the rabbis and there's a lot involved. Yeah, I don't mind, and I know that many people are willing to step up and help, but doing it successfully and efficiently, comes with a lot of trial and error, and I don't know if I want to I don't mind making a $5,000 or $10,000 commitment to make something happen. But I think I mentioned to Angelica last year, I said, if we're going to do one next year, I'm not going to pony up for more than 50% up front. It's just not going to happen. It's just not the right thing to do.
50% is a lot.
Well, yeah. But in other words, spearheading, I'm good at getting, kicking open doors, but you get the door open unless you got the people supporting it and actually networking and making it work. Angelica's been great in our area for being a contact for people, and she's always on the lookout to connect with somebody fresh or new if they have questions. And anybody in my area that is a lady, I always put in touch with her, because I don't want to be having one-on-one conversations with just not prudent. So
it's all good, but you know what, Dan, if we do something, the thought is Vancouver, there are synagogues there.
Well, that's one of the reasons.
We do not need to pay for that. We do not, because
don't kid yourself.
I know. Okay.
Some may be open to it.
I know how to get there.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys ever need an extra foot soldier, I'm open to joining.
Yeah, right.
I have a question besides. Hello,
Canada.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I want to get back on track on two things. Can I do that?
Sure. Okay.
Dan? Okay, Dan, I'd like to attend your Leviticus Zoom class. Can I attend it, and what is your Zoom address? If it's Zoom.
I don't have a Leviticus Zoom class.
What do you talk about when you say, well, in about an hour now, I'll be with my rabbi, and if you guys want to attend the class, it'll be in an hour.
Oh, that's Rabbi Carmi Ingber.
Yeah,
it's with our class is with the Nativ group in Houston. And I can share that Zoom link with you, James. But we're not on today with Rabbi Ingber. So let me just see here. I'm going to...
And what time would that be, Chicago?
You're on Eastern time?
Central. I'm in Chicago.
Yes. So when he hosts it, it's usually at 4 p.m. Eastern. So 3 p.m. Central. That's the same time as Houston.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good,
so here, I'm going to send you in the chat to James. But we're not on for today. Now, this is Nativ's private Zoom link. I don't want to share this to the public, so I don't have permission to share it to the public. So.
Oh, but you can share it. You can share it here in the chat room, so it will be only here inside. If you put it in the chat room, nobody will see it outside. It will be only in the chat room of the people here.
And then and then Rabbi's back. And I have a question about understanding Torah.
Yes.
At which point do we take it literally? Now, this is my growth, this is my development. Literally, rather than figuratively. For instance, an example is, most people, if they're Christian, will say, well, I believe that Adam and Eve, were the first couple on earth and that God made them. Some people don't believe that because they can't see how that could be. How do you trust that as a scientist that that really happened? So when do you become, when do you trust literally? And this is for my benefit because I'm going through this myself. I'm thinking about it.
First of all, it's a good question. It's a very nice question. Thank you very much for that. I think it's very important. I will say something. I'm sure that Rabbi Shmuel will have also things to add or to say. I want to say, first of all, in principle, okay, we have also Rashi, okay, in the beginning of the Torah, he's saying that the Torah is not coming to say to us or to share with us scientific ideas. The science have one purpose, and the Torah have a different purpose. And the purpose of the science is to observe the world and to understand and to realize conclusions of what we see with our, I will say, reason, with a reasonable way.
Experientially.
Exactly, and this is a science, and it's getting better and better. But it's observing the world. It's observing what's happening, and this is what the science is giving. The Bible is giving something else. The Bible is the words of God, and it's giving the meaning, the inside, I will say, ideas of what's happening here. And there's no contradicting between those two. Now, one of the most hardest things, and especially, I think it's the first time I'm saying this word with this sentence, but I'm saying it, and especially to those who, under the Christian, I will say, atmosphere or grew up in a Christian environment.
Influence.
Is that we have two Bibles, I will call it like that. The written one, also the oral one.
Right.
Now, the oral one, the Christian world, when they began, in the beginning, they did all the efforts to separate, because if you will understand what is also passing through the oral tradition, so a lot of things you won't be able to say them in the Christian understanding. And this is where they're trying to say, no, don't believe to the oral one. They inventing everything. It's in their mind. It's not related to anything, but it's not true. There is a full oral one. Now, for example, I will give you something that I don't know if you ever thought about this. The truth is that we have a book, one of the most important books. By the way, the name of this book is Brit Olam, but it was written 400 years ago with one of the biggest Kabbalist rabbis that we have. Mm-hmm. And this book, 250 years ago. And in this book, he is saying that the world was created 14 billion years ago, 14 billion and 200 million years ago. More or less what the science is saying today. Mm-hmm. So you're asking me if it's that? Yes, so you're asking me, so if it's so, how can you say that Adam and Eve only 6,000 years ago? We need to understand what happened here, okay? Of course, there was physically, I will call it like that, there was all those stages along the years. What the Torah is speaking with us is in a period of time that is giving us a meaning in this long thing that we have, billions of years, okay? 6,000 years, when someone is living here 70, 80, 90 years, and he can see his grandfather on one side and his grandson on the other side. So suddenly he is getting connected here with all of these chains. The Torah is starting from the time that God have put in some sort of, we'll call it, of soul, that you can start to decide between good and bad, how to behave in a moral way, And this started only 6,000 years ago. Before that, we were more or less a bit like animals, I'll call it like that. Not better than animals, not too much better than animals. So the science is speaking about one thing, and it's explaining a lot of things, and it's more on the observing the world and trying to understand it.
Right.
While the Bible is speaking about listening inside, starting to speak about something else, the meaning of things. And this is the verse that I brought here, okay? Oh, Israel, listen. Shema Israel, listen. Start to listen to what's happening inside.
Yeah.
God of Israel is God of all of the world. Start to put meaning inside your life. What is the meaning that you're going with? You know that one of the most incredible things that happened in Germany in the Nazis' time, in the Second World War, I'm sure that you all know those films that Hitler,
Holocaust.
But when he spoke in front of all of his crowd people, and he said things, and he said it with his hand like that, and everybody said, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. You know what he said there inside? Go a bit to the internet and research, and you will listen, you will be amazed. He said, the Jews gave to the world the conscience, good and bad. Until we won't kill the last Jew here in this world, the world will have this conscience, good and bad. We need to take this out from the world. The Jews who listened to God, and God spoke with them, brought to this world the good and bad. I think I said it once, the word evil is coming from the word in Hebrew, avel. Avel is doing something wrong, bad, okay? In Hebrew you say avel, in English you say evil, it's the same thing, okay? There are a few words like that are coming from the Hebrew, 20,000 words if you want to know, okay? It's a very nice red book.
James, you know, what dawned on, what gave me some peace of mind getting over the science question was, if you're thinking about primitive man, their more mentality was yes or no. You know, they lived in this world, and the way they looked at the world was very animalistic, you know, and they looked at the world like, can I eat this or can this eat me? And it was yes or no, and it was a fight or flight response, whereas when you have the dawn of good and evil, the question like with Adam and Eve, we're into a complete mind paradigm change. So the age of innocence may have been more a yes or no thought pattern rather than a good or evil understanding. And so it introduces an unfurling of concept of development in humanity's growth. And I think what the rabbis are teaching takes it even further still.
But and we
Perhaps
need
I
to
would
know,
take it one
just a
step
moment,
little
Rabbi Shmuel, just a moment. We need to understand this movement, okay, from yes or no to good and bad, or okay, good and evil, is a movement that God interfered, and He said that He needs to put His soul inside.
Oh yeah, he put the tree in the garden, and he could have just as easily not put that tree in the garden.
Okay, so this is the main point that the Torah is giving us, to listen to the words of God. Please, Rabbi Shmuel.
I'm just following up with what both of you have said so nicely. The Bible deals with the why and the science deals with the how. science is not actually going to explain why A or B or C occurred. They are coming to describe the facts as they appear. And the facts, that's right. And the fossils can be turning with carbon-14 back to a couple billion of years. But we are trying to have a path of ethics, as the rabbi mentioned, which the Torah is trying to teach the mankind how to behave. And to that end, that ethical principle has been illustrated in human behavior in the last 5,800 and some years. That's essentially what has right. And to that end, I don't have any problem for there to be evolution from way before. Rabbi Cook, as a matter of fact, says that evolution in life is definitely a fact. The discussion on evolution on a science level talks about ancient history, but the development of, just a minute, Michal will be a gift. Please, I'm sorry. Not at all. The development is something which has been changing, and to that end, it's in the middle room. Let's get the light on. Yeah, you can go in there. So to that end, the methodology is what actually has been changing. Now, I'd like to say something about what was said earlier. As you mentioned, Dan, there is what you'd call the absolute, which is a yes or no. And the Bible really deals with the adjective. There are things that are relative truth one way or the other. They're not straightforward, not completely positive or completely negative. They are things that are in between. And that's the real challenge when we have what I call a ladder of ethics, meaning there are things which one stands versus the other. Both issues are sensible. We have to determine within the reality that we face what takes priority. A priority in the value system is probably the most sophisticated part of the Bible. And actually in Deuteronomy, which is being read now in the synagogues, is where this is probably revised to the greatest extent. Because we have to figure out in retrospect about history that Moses is repeating about the 40 years of the Jews in the desert, which decisions that were made reflect an ultimate truth or things that are only relative. And this is something which is a serious question. We have these dilemmas, believe me, at any given time. We just have to think within our current situation, what would be the better thing. I'll give you an example of something that I like, which is not violence, something which is really being kind. You know, one of the important laws in the Torah, we haven't discussed that recently, is that when you give a loan, not to take interest. Now, what is unethical if I'm doing you a favor, you need the money now, and I'm giving it to you, and you're earning as a result a way to get out of your trouble thanks to the loan that I'm giving? Why shouldn't I be entitled by Jewish law to take interest on the loan? I mean, I'm doing you a favor. For you, it's good. For both of us, it makes sense. If I wouldn't have given you the money, I could have invested it in the bank or in some other project. Why am I expected not to take of you interest when you are gaining anyhow? In any civil system, if you take less than 3 or 4% interest, it's not even an argument. It's something which is more than normal. But Judaism believes in a higher standard of ethics. That's what Hitler Yamach Shemo was not happy to hear of, that there's a guilty conscience and that we have to be considerate towards other people, and that our money is not really owned by us. It's actually a gift which is made by God. And God gives certain people wealth with ease, and therefore they are expected to do a redistribution of wealth. And there are others who are not in that state of affairs, and we have to deal with them as well. And these are two different things. Both values make sense. Both the debtor and the creditor want the deal to be done, but the creditor is expected within the situation that he is to elevate beyond. If you take that first sacrifice of Cain and Abel, Cain was the person who initiated. Abel learned from his brother and not vice versa. But what Abel saw is that Cain did something very simplistic, very basic, and he decided that once he already goes for gifting, he'll do something on the highest level. So again, this is a relative change. Both of them were doing something positive. But what gave Abel greater credit was his heart, as some of the scholars say that Abel brought himself into the sacrifice. He didn't just give the actual gifting. He was fully associated with what he was doing. I think that's something which is very much relevant to us. When we want to be kind with other people, we should be happily doing so. I have a custom which I try to keep once a month to support my married children. And I always say to my wife, bless her, that let's give it with a smile. Once we give, we do it with a smile. You don't have to give necessarily a huge amount. It depends what you can, and then everybody has a different ability. But what you give, don't think twice about it. Be happy with it, and that makes the commandment all the more beneficial. So when I went to do it today, I said, this is my daily smile. This is our monthly stipend given to the children. So let's do it with a nice smile at this moment. When we're doing any commandment of God, that's what we should strive to do. Not just do it, but to do it with good quality. If you have any questions on my comment, you're more than welcome. But I have more to say, but I'll leave it at that at the moment.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Shmuel. It's always a joy to
Strongly
have
mean
you.
this point. Yeah.
Does anybody in the group have any comments or questions for Rabbi Hirschler?
Okay.
Well, I think the group's all talked out. Rabbi, yeah.
No, next week hopefully we'll have. I hope that I won't have any, I will say, unexpected situations. We will have a lesson. No, hopefully there will be a lesson. 2 weeks from now, we're going to India. Rabbi Shirky and me. We're going to meet something like 30 groups of Noahide communities all over the India. Yes, and so 2 weeks from now we won't have a lesson, but next week hopefully there will be a lesson, and we'll return back. After that, we will have a small, small gap, and then we'll continue on. So I'm sorry for today. Sometimes
don't apologize, Rabbi. We appreciate it, and I think it's provoked some thought-provoking points. And we wish you and Rabbi Shirky safe travels to India in a couple of weeks, and we hope that all goes well. Lots of population in India and hot. This time of year is going to be hot there in India, no doubt. Does anybody else have any questions or comments before we close it down for the day? Everybody's so quiet all of a sudden.
If something
James, Bart?
if something is happening in Vancouver that Ariel and me find out, we will let you know. Because we make this world, we want to make this world a better place. So if this world needs to be a better place, then other people will come aside you, including the synagogues, because they want to make the world a better place. So free needs to be free. Like, free, how do you make the world a better place? If you have a place that you can say, you can come here, my place, you can come here, free. I don't ask money because I want to make the world a better place. So if the Jews who are in the synagogues want to make a better place for us to work together, we need to help each other in that kind of way. So I give free, who else is going to give free? So we come together in that kind of way where there is even food, everything else, accommodation, whatever. that needs to happen.
It's very
I-
altruistic for sure. It's very altruistic, but I think when it comes down to practical terms, I've done plenty of study on it. I find that if a door's open, there are always takers that seem to find the open doors, and well, it's free, and yeah. So you got to be cautious and careful. You gotta be willing for sure.
You have to be positive, Dan. You have to be positive. If you're always thinking in
I'm not going to bear the brunt of being less than positive unless I pay for everything. I just it's just not it's not practical.
We need to look at it in a different way. We need
but
to
still pay for it. I am not buying it.
No.
Dan is going off his own experience. If we remember what he was saying earlier,
Yeah,
even when he
remember.
when he made it free.
Yeah, I'm all for giving, but the last few years for me has been trying to hold back takers at bay and be efficient, right? You don't want to be unwise, and like I mentioned to you before in private chat, if you open your home or advertise it for a free room and board, you're liable in our area to end up with some junkie taking you to court saying that you're prejudicing them for not letting them turn your house into a den of iniquity. The distortions out there are genuine, and in an altruistic world, it would be everybody would understand Hashem, and his name would be one. But realistically, at this stage, it's not like that. How do we get it and aid it in that fashion? It's what's known as a wicked problem, in the sense that it's wicked not in that it's evil. It's difficulty, or it's unwillingness to play by any rules. And as Rabbi Goldberg touched on a little bit today, I think subjectivity is a big problem, in the sense that everybody wants to see it their way. And though you want it to be a nice open door policy, you better have deep pockets, because there are a lot of people will stick their hand in deep. And I grew up with a lot of takers, and you're always challenged at heart to be a taker yourself, and that's a wicked mindset. You don't want it to infect your heart. So trying to learn to be a giver is a very, very, very difficult thing, and giving freely. I mean, we just, with the Rabbi Schwartz, we just went through the laws of charity, and there's really no reason to not give. It just makes the world a better place. I get that, and I understand it, but there's also safeguards in place that I know in their laws of charity, there's safeguards that if a person, has a certain amount, they weren't allowed access to a community fund. I mean, even like I've been studying early Christianity to death a lot lately. Even in the 2nd century, I mean, there was so much subjectivity in the 1st century that in the 2nd century, they no longer could call themselves Christians based on belief alone. They weren't permitted. They were called catechumens, which they instituted catechism, and unless they went through they were called a catechist until they completed that. Then they could be considered one of the faithful, and it's because all the takers come out of the woodwork, and when they had their own issues of some mild persecutions, takers have a tendency to jump on and off bandwagons whenever it's convenient for them, and I have to deal with it all the time in security, and I tell you, there are those that do stupid things. I work for a really nice resort, and yesterday I had to fish out of our front fountain. We've got a decorative fountain out front of the hotel. The point being, I had to fish out of our fountain a $5,000 electric cycle, not a cycle, one of those, what do they call them? Scooters. And it's a rental. Somebody actually, because they've got trackers on them, they can drop them off on the beach in certain places and they get picked up. But somebody just threw it in the fountain, and of course it ruins the whole thing, and the motor goes kaputs. But I mean, I had to fish the thing out of the fountain because it just shouldn't have been there, right? I mean, what goes on in people's minds is amazing.
No, you're more than right, Dan. There are some people that don't, yeah, exactly. They have abuse, but we need to. I think we said it more than once. A bit of a light is managing to fight a lot of darkness.
Yes.
We need to spotlight more and more light and more good to the world. We need to
Yes.
defeat a lot of bad behavior and bad things, and we need to be with a good eye. One of the things that we're learning from Abraham is the good eyes. I'm really sorry. I need to go. I know that I'm not closing the room.
That's okay, Rabbi.
I need to go. Okay.
Thank you. A little light, and I really appreciate Angelica's enthusiasm and her legitimate kindness to the world. I'm just trying to be caution, a voice of reason, and I don't like playing devil's advocate or having to play police. It's just the point is I wish her safety, and I know they're good people. You want everybody healthy and organized, and if everybody understood all of Torah, I don't think we would have the world would be definitely a brighter place. And things are getting better for sure, and we're so grateful that we can meet together and hear the light of Torah come out of the nation of Israel. It means a lot to me. Rabbi's got to go, so thank you, Rabbi Hirschler. Always good to have you with us. It just adds so much more to the class, and it's always good to be with everybody else, people in the UK, people down in South America, and here in Canada. It's great. So we're going to sign out for now until we will be back next week for more Genesis class. So until next week, we're going to sign out for now. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. I do not have a class today with Rabbi Ingber, so till next week. Bye for now.